Breathwork changed my life, now I'll help you change yours. In 2013, my world was turned upside down when my partner was murdered. I was thrown into grief, a place I never expected to be. The last decade plus has been a journey of healing, learning what works and what doesn't. Also how to rebuild from the darkest of places. I founded Verity Jo Breathwork, a method designed to make healing simple and accessible, and now I train facilitators to share this transformative practice globally. Welcome to The Dark Side with Verity, the podcast where we get real about transformation, growth, and stepping into your strength. Let's dive in. Welcome to The Dark Side with Verity, podcast where we go deep into transformation and healing and all the nitty-gritty that happens with grief. While I share my story, this episode is going to be touching back on, let's call it life after death, when in reality for my life, it was life after Josh. And when I say that, by no means at all did I feel his presence was gone emotionally, spiritually. It was our house that we lived in. The only thing missing was his physical being. And that was a really tough pill to swallow. I want to talk about the moment when someone dies and that in-between phase before the funeral. There's a lot of organizing to do when, in reality, looking back, it's almost the space that was the coziest because all of my friends and family were arriving at my home to be at the funeral. And I don't really know the amount of days. It's not part of my religion or anything like that. I'm not quite sure. All I knew was that I wanted all of his friends and family to be there. A lot of them worked out at sea, and so they were navigating their way back to shore, to land, to be able to be there to support each other and to support me and just to show up for them. So it was like this really weird time. And okay, let me just preface this. So I will retell everything as much as I remember. My brain does a wonderful thing where sometimes it shuts out certain parts and I just don't remember them. The other part is that with grief or something shocking or traumatic in your life, it's like the ability to understand timelines disappears. I have no concept of this. It frustrates some people. And I used to get really upset with myself trying to figure things out. I've just compassionately accepted that I don't remember stuff and that's okay. It just means that this is who I am now and being accepting of it all. Like, let's be real. It's like being able to achieve a certain amount of things per day. It just changes. And maybe that's because your nervous system needs you to slow down. Maybe that's because your nervous system needs you to forget certain things. Whatever it is, just be okay with it. So as everybody was arriving, it was this weird space in time where everyone would be at my house. And this is where I know emotional exhaustion is a real thing because I'm not a person who naps. Like, sleep when you're dead, basically, was my motto. Up until now, the past few years, like, I really love early nights. But in this moment, it was just this weird space. I was drinking, keeping myself like this weird, really numb phase. And by no means, when I share any of this, do I recommend what I did to survive. I'm just sharing it because it's what I did. It's honest, it's raw, it's real. The version of me now and what I've learnt and know now probably would not do more than half of those things. But I just had zero tools. My tools of coping were to drink, to smoke. That's what I did, and that's what I knew to numb myself to not feel or to think that I was making myself calm. I had no concept. I had no tools. I was just literally doing the best that I could. Again, forever grateful for my friends and family. So as everyone rallied around, I just remember sitting outside on the grass in my home. People would be talking, coming and going, having conversations, and I would just fall asleep. My body just would shut down, basically. It's times where, again, what I know now, I know that my body needed nourishment, but I would just be so burnt out, so exhausted, just like pass out. I also had this, it was kind of like a known fact, and it's actually scary to say this. So my sister and I were drinking these like vodka, lime, soda, cruiser kind of things, like not the sweet ones, but because we were drinking so many, it was the thing, when anyone would rock up to my home, they would bring a carton of these drinks. So much that people were ringing around Darwin to try and get another carton of these cruises to keep me, my sister, on like a bit of a level that was being able to survive. I don't even know what I'd call it now. Like, I look back and think, my goodness, how everyone put up with me, I'm not sure. This is a moment I'm speechless. I'm like, what do I say apart from thank you? This is why this is important, to know how to support people in grief, because they all knew me so well. They knew how to take over my life, basically, to keep me in a level where I wouldn't like lose it. Because as soon as something would slip or something was out of my perceived control, it would be like the end of the world, and all of my anger and frustration about obviously what had happened, I would take out on this person or this thing. So not being able to manage my emotions, and look, I'll give myself a break. I don't imagine anyone can manage your emotions in that state. I know the tools now would have definitely helped. It probably made my process a lot quicker. So everyone would bring around these drinks, and it was just like a known thing that my sister and I would be drinking these as we began to plan the funeral. And I say this like time in between was the best because everybody was just there. Nobody knew what to do. Everybody took so much time off, or they would go to work and come back. I just felt so supported and loved, as I was just like this shell of a human that would flop around my home. It was just beautiful to watch everyone come together. And I get maybe it was more days than normal, whatever normal is, before a funeral, but I didn't really care because it was just this rebellious part of me, like whatever had to happen to make it the way that I thought Josh would be the happiest and honor him the best. Like, that's what I did. This is why these conversations are important, because knowing how they want to be, whether they want to be buried, cremated, is important because you want to honor them. What song to pick at the funeral. So weirdly enough, my sister and I, we've had our funeral song picked out for a very long time. I think it was like a couple of years after my nan passed away. And so we both know what our songs are. How I picked Josh's songs were one of them, like how, I guess some people find their like partner's song in maybe a really cute way. I remember us driving in my car and this song came on. I'm like, oh, I love this song, In the Arms of the Ocean. It's like a Florence and Machine. I was like, this is my song. He's like, this is my song. It's about the ocean. Like, I love the ocean. This is me. I'm like, I love the ocean too. So from that conversation, that then became our song. The other song was Riptide. Funnily enough, this song became Triple J's Hottest 100 #1. And so, as you can imagine, the song was played over and everywhere possible that year. And the other song was picked the night before the funeral when we were all sitting around, again, having more drinks. The song like I Have Lived, and that just really defined him, like life to the fullest, doing all of the things before 27. When you're organizing all this stuff, and I know they're tough conversations to have, but they are really valuable because we can avoid it and pretend that death is not going to happen, but inevitable. So if you know fully in your heart, then there's no question about what you're doing or picking in those moments. Because when I look back, and I fully put my hand up and say I was quite delusional in these decision making. So my mum said something to me, I was really lucky, because lots of people in their lifetime would never experience the love that I had. Like, I knew wholeheartedly that Josh loved me. God, I put him through some shit. And he knew that I loved him. Some people go their whole lives, their whole marriages, not knowing and feeling this. So I always felt extremely blessed to have known true, healthy love and to know that I had my person. That's a pretty cool thing to be able to say. So when we were planning his funeral, I don't know, in the back of my mind, it was like this big procession of love. I didn't want anyone to wear black. I wore white floral Camilla dress. And this is when you know people rallied around you to support you, because especially in that gap period, that time, like you don't really want to see anyone else you don't know. And so my beautiful friends organized the shop to be open after hours in this beautiful boutique in Darwin, Pink Hill. And we got to go in there, and Sylvia dressed my mum, my sister, and I to the nines. We all felt beautiful, and it was easy. These are the things you don't want to think about, but want to look back later and be like, oh yeah, great, I looked amazing on that day where I felt absolutely shit. But I looked good. And so we all had our outfits ready. When they were designing the booklets, I'm kind of embarrassed saying this. So I'd seen before wedding invitations where you like open it out and it ties a knot. Obviously, Josh working on boats, there was lots of tying knots, and I thought it was a really cute thing. So I've given another mammoth task to my girlfriend Dim to try and create the impossible invitations in a short amount of time, which mind you, she pulled off. Like the whole thing looked incredible. It was held on the cliffs at East Point, so we could see the ocean. We looked right out. Everybody sat. Like, honestly, it looked like a wedding setup. I'm not going to lie. Because in my mind at that point, like I never cared if I found love again. I was just all about Josh and never thought that I would get married or meet anyone else. Like it's not in your mind. So it was this beautiful ceremony of love, which was a funeral. Brian is actually a celebrant. And I just wanted someone who would be lighthearted, would be able to speak beautifully and make it really natural and easy for everybody. Because our age back then, it didn't feel natural to be going to a funeral. Ideally, we would have all been going to weddings. So that's what it became. As the funeral finished, we all poured our Forex Gold beers off the cliff together. And I just remember Riptide, the song playing over and over because we just sat there for so long. It's like those moments where you don't want it to end. And this is again where rituals don't need to be anybody else's. So every year on his birthday, on his anniversary death, I always go down and pour a beer off the cliffs for him. And I've got this beautiful collage of photos over the years. And if there's been years that I haven't been in Darwin, my mum and my sister will go down. And I think this is what makes me most emotional about how loved he was, but also how loved I am from my family. I'm very lucky all round. So your rituals can be your rituals, whatever they are, as long as they mean something to you, and know that you're honoring the person that's gone. After the funeral, everybody came back to our house for the wake. There were some good moments because everybody was there, but there was also like they just don't want to have conversations about that stuff, or just some moments remember talking to people thinking, just get me out of here. Like I just want to be by myself. I just want to be with Josh, but at the same time not wanting to be anywhere either because I knew that wasn't possible. Probably just cuddled up in my bed with my dogs. The funeral was filmed. Obviously, how Josh passed away was going to be on the news regardless. And so one of my friends who worked at Channel 9 called me and said, like, can we be at the funeral? Like it would be better to tell the story from people who loved him, and that way you're able to showcase bits that you want people to see rather than it be a horrible story. People would get to see how much he was loved and already missed. So that was filmed at the funeral, and then somehow I watched it maybe on the news at the wake. I don't know. But I do know from that day on, I've never watched the news ever again. Let's be real. What good really comes of watching the news? To me, not much. So after the wake, that's when things get really tough because people go back to their day-to-day lives. And it sucks because it was Josh and I living together alone with our dogs. And then he wasn't there. So I'm reminded every millisecond of the day that he's not in the home. And instead, the home is filled with hearty meals. This is another space where I was so neurotic, and I just thank everybody again because I'd come off like comp prep. My brain was still kind of in like a structured way of eating. Anything that wasn't in my realm of what I wanted in that moment felt like I was losing control again. Fridge would be filled with all these meals that beautiful people had cooked and made and brought around. And I would get so mad. I was like, get all this food out, like throw it in the bin. I don't want it there. And she would look at me, Verity, there is lots of other people in this house right now. Like, and the mum voice comes on like, I'm trying to be kind and listen to you. I love you, but you're being very unreasonable in this moment. So mum was feeding everyone, looking after everyone. And the other thing is flowers. This is when I know that I've healed quite a lot, because back then I couldn't stand the flowers being in my house, because flowers used to be a representation of like something beautiful, a good event, or you're being spoilt, to all of a sudden it meaning death. And then the flowers would die, I'd have to throw them out, and more would arrive, and I would just be like, oh my, what do I do with all these flowers? And my whole kitchen bench was filled, my dining table, my lounge room, they were everywhere. And as beautiful as flowers are, I felt so ungrateful, because I was like, oh, these are just like another reminder that things die. Everything's going to die. And it was like doom and gloom. I know how much I've healed because I now love. And it was only like maybe a month ago that I can fully say this, that I got flowers and loved having fresh flowers in my home. So that's a pretty big thing. That's a cool thing to realize, because it's appreciating the beauty and small things again. Previously, like, don't worry about buying me flowers, like they just die. It's good to appreciate the simple things and the beauty again. It means your heart is healing more and more, and it will continue more and more, because as you enter the grief club, it's never a space anyone wants to be in, but you really appreciate when people talk about it more and more. So you don't feel isolated. So you have the space to talk about people that are gone, so their legacy lives on. Because it's like, these sayings are there for a reason. Like, the good die young. The best ones are taken early. It's us left that need to figure this stuff out to embody all of their great qualities. Because there's so many qualities I looked at in Josh. He never cared what people thought about him. Because I was like, whatever, I have enough friends. I'm good. If he didn't want to go somewhere, he didn't go. It took me a while in our relationship at the start to navigate that. Me being a person who loved going out all the time, him always doing what he wanted to do, navigating life in a way that honored himself is something that I've really tried to carry on. Don't get me wrong, there's times where I get stressed, I forget, I lose my way, but I keep coming back to this, remembering how amazing he was. And in saying that, he had some really ridiculous qualities as well. Like, him and my mum had this ongoing thing. Because he didn't care what people thought, he would do it on purpose to frustrate me. So we would go shopping and he'd tuck on a high-vis singlet. And as he'd put on a few kilos from time to time, this singlet turned into like a midriff. I was like, hell no, we are not wearing this out. And he'd just like giggle in his giggle. Be like, yep, I'm going to the shops in this. So he would walk into the shops with this midriff thing on. I ended up throwing it in the bin. I was like, sorry, I've lost your shirt, it's gone. And I think maybe that brought on the karma of Josh and my mum's little clothing game. Every time she'd go to Bali, she'd bring home another shit shirt of like, oh, do they like have a cup of concrete, harden up, fuck off, I have enough friends. Just shirts that are so inappropriate to wear. He would think it's funny to rock out as we'd go out. So him and my mum would be giggling while I was cringing. The funniest part about it, of all of the cringy things, they turn into the best things. So this blanket here was made by one of my mum's best friends, Gay. She took all of Josh's clothes, and we had no idea how this was going to come about, but she had this idea that we would turn his clothes into a blanket. I don't know how you turn a shit wardrobe into the to a cool blanket, but she definitely managed to do this. So this is what's next to me. Forever have these bloody clothes, these shit clothes with me. So grateful. But these are the things so wild, the things that we stress about end up being the things that we love. For instance, his tattoos. Like he didn't have cool tattoos. I don't think anyone does when you get them when you're younger. One was like a dog on his side and one was a tiger ripping out of his other shoulder. The other ones was like the bed cousins on his stomach, such as life. So the period in between his death and the funeral, we all ended up getting tattoos. I got this tattoo on my rib cage that says such as life, which now I think is hilarious. Like, I wonder if people meet me and think, wow, she picked that tattoo herself. Underneath it says, it's got Josh and V, all in writing. That's just sort of, it's just so that I know. Sister has one on her back, such as life with the Three Musketeers. My mum and dad, like this is how much they love Josh, never in their life have a tattoo apart from they both have, mum has it on her arm, dad has it on his back, such as life. And all of his mates have the same tattoo too. So you find these things to unite yourselves in these times. And I just know that he would be laughing about all of this because it's so ridiculous. At the same time, it's so beautiful. When making all of your decisions for the funeral, trust your gut. Trust all the people who love you and who loved the person that's passed, because it's in those moments when you're in survival that you need reminders. Okay. And I'm not saying anyone else needs to do this. I needed to get Just Breathe on my arm. And you don't know the amount of sarcastic, horrendous comments I've had about this tattoo. Like, oh, when I had blonde hair, are you so blonde that you needed to have like Just Breathe written on your arm to remind you? And in my head, I'm like, yeah, I actually did. Because when my partner died, I forgot to breathe. Of course, I didn't say that. I just like smile, be like, yeah, you're funny. But have beautiful reminders. Trust everyone around you, the people who care. One of the best things that I was able to do, because you can be really anxious in these moments. You're breathing in the top half of your chest. Your heart is beating really fast. One of the tools that I love and adore, and I probably should come up with a better name for this breath, but I haven't. I just call it the anxiety breath because it alleviates my anxiety. It's 4 counts breathing in through your nose, and then you hold your breath at the top for 7 counts, and then you exhale through the mouth for 8 counts. This allows me to like physically hear and feel my heart rate slow down. So if you're ever trying to help someone through making all these decisions, or you're the one trying to make these decisions, this breath is one that I absolutely adore. And it applies whenever you feel your heart beating a little too fast or things get a little tough. So let's breathe together. Whether you're walking, you can do this breath, or whether you're sitting down, chilling out, close your eyes. Place your hands on your thighs and let's breathe in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath at the top. Listen to your heart rate. And then slow exhale through pursed lips, like you're blowing out the candle. Inhale for 4. Hold the breath at the top. Slow release. Let's do one more to really drop in. Breathing in. Hold the breath. Slowly exhale. Okay, I'm feeling calm already. Let's do one more. Big inhale. Hold the breath at the top. Relax your jaw, relax your shoulders as you take a long, slow exhale. I thank you. I appreciate you. We made it. Much love. That's a wrap for this episode of The Dark Side with Verity. I trust it's given you clarity, sparked awareness, and allowed you to breathe a little deeper, plus a little takeaway to integrate into your life. If this has resonated, I'd love you to leave a 5-star review, of course. More importantly, I would love you to share this with someone who's on their journey and needs a little bit of assistance. Come hang out with me over at Instagram at Verity Jo Coonan or The Dark Side with Verity, or start to explore Vidya breathwork at verityjocoonan.co. Until next time, breathe deep, trust the process, and keep expanding. Much love.